Travis, this actually transitions me to the next question that I know is so important to both you and I. So let's talk about freedom. And how do you see personal freedom, and how do you manifest and create it in your life? Because for me, I've been on this freedom journey for the last 12 years when I went from corporate America, ad sales bro, to full-time entrepreneur and creator. And freedom is something that I actively create and I'm aware of every single day and every single moment, because it's a real thing to me. And a very simple auditing thing would be, ask yourself how often you're thinking about or talking about or asking questions about freedom. Because for me, I am looking for creative freedom, financial freedom, freedom of time, freedom of relationships, inner freedom, freedom of mind, like so many things. So talk to me about freedom and where that lives in your world.
Yeah, freedom to me, I'm not necessarily after millions and millions of dollars. Like, yes, that would be nice, but freedom to me is really the choice, freedom of choice. So, freedom to choose today that I'm going to work real hard on my project, or freedom that I'm going to take the day off. Freedom that I get to maybe decide that every day I get to dedicate myself to my children, to be there for dinner time, to be there for bedtime, to be there when they wake up in the morning. Freedom to choose which project I'm going to work on, freedom to choose who I want to work with, freedom to choose this podcast, right? To me, that's freedom. Okay. And the only way to get freedom are typically two things. One, you have to figure out a way to build up an income stream that can support your lifestyle. And I think lifestyles kill dreams, right? If you have a very high mortgage and you rent a Mercedes Benz and you have to have the latest Kanye West Balenciaga shirt, and you need to have 100 different streaming services, what you've done is you've built a prison to which you have to work that job in order to sustain your lifestyle. What I challenge people to do is say, how little can you live on? And I mean this as an exercise of, if you put everything you spend money on a budget, remove everything that you absolutely don't need, right? You only need a few things. You need shelter, you need food, you probably need the internet, and maybe you need some other things that have to be in your life, whether you have children or a spouse or something, right? But that's all you really need. But all the other things that we put into our lives are what create us to get trapped into a lifestyle. So you can choose to reduce your lifestyle in order to follow that dream. Maybe you're a painter and you're like, well, I'm not going to make that much money. Great. Can you figure out how to make enough money to live on so that you can choose to do that? So it's a mind shift in all these people are telling you private jets, millions of dollars, the Ferrari, this and that, which actually traps you into having to make more money, as opposed to being able to do the thing you want to do and living a modest lifestyle, right? So that you can choose what you do, where you go, who you interact with. So freedom to me is just simply the choice. Can I spend time with my kids? Can I just paint today? Can I take a nap? I love a good nap, right? That is one of the best things about being an entrepreneur, is choosing when I'm going to work hard and when I'm not going to work hard.
So I'm going to yes and what you said. And one thing that really stood out to me is people are telling you. And to me, that's immediately a throw it in the trash statement, because comparison is the thief of joy. And I agree with everything you said about creating that side of freedom. But I'm someone, and certainly on the coaching side, I'm very big into the mental and the internal freedom of how we create that for ourselves, because so often what limits us from creating the external freedom we want in the world is actually the internal stories that we tell ourselves, which comes from the people or the Instagram posts saying you need to be this, or you need to have this, or you are not enough. And I think about my own journey, and I always smile and laugh because there's a little dancing guy in my head at all times. And I'm cool being a one of one. And actually, I love it because it's such a unique journey. And someone like you, Travis, who comes into my life, and I'm like, man, I can't wait to create with Travis because he's got an equal radiation and frequency that I do. And boom, here we are helping people in this world. And it hurts me so much when the majority of the world does not have this inner peace and this inner freedom. And they're always keeping up with the Joneses, or they're trapped in doing things, whether it's work or relationships or you name it, to where they never see a way out. And for me, that's where my personal growth has always started. And I look back at what created this, and it's literally the first week I was an entrepreneur full time, and I'm sitting there, I'm making $0. I went from multiple six figures to $0 overnight, and it's like, wow. And two things happened that changed my life. Number one, I became self-aware, and number two, I adopted a growth mindset. So I audited the success habits of the most successful people in the world, the people that I aspired to do things like. And I'm like, hey, what are they doing? So boom, this is where I got so into habits, routines, and mindsets. And then when it came to self-awareness, I was like, whoa, everything is on me. And for a lot of people, and I think we learned this during the pandemic when a lot of people worked from home, they said, I can't use that sort of freedom. It's not good for me. But when I was given that freedom, I learned this lesson in the most unique way. So, Travis, I'm 26 years old, and this is even before I'm an entrepreneur. And I'm trying to move to Chicago. I'm living in Cincinnati, Ohio. My dream is to move to Chicago. I have a house on the market in the worst time possible. So once the house sells, boom, I'm moving to Chicago. And I get a job at Career Builder. And they're like, yeah, you can work from home until you move to Chicago. Great. And I've never experienced this sort of freedom ever before in my life. So the very first day I'm working from home out of my guest bedroom, it's like 11 o'clock in the morning. And this is early TiVo days. Like right now, DVR is like whatever. Everybody has it like the internet. Back then, TiVo was like an actual brand. Yeah. And I sat there and I was like, I'm going to TiVo a soap opera. Why? Because I can. So I went into the TiVo thing and boom, I went ahead and TiVo'd a soap opera. So fast forward lunchtime and it's now, I don't know, 1 o'clock or so. And I just sat there for a second and I was like, what in the world did you just do? That you're working from home and you've been given this freedom and you're a sales guy who works off commission. So you know if you're going to crush, then it's up to you to put into the work. Yeah. And in that moment, it hit me. I got it. I immediately deleted the soap opera, which I never did watch. And from that moment, I understood that with structure, or as Jocko Willink would say, with discipline comes freedom. And it took 2 hours in being given all the freedom in the world for me to teach myself that lesson, because where did my mind go first? To something I've never watched a soap opera in my life. So why in the world, the first instance I get, would I be like, you know what? Let's be the lowest common denominator of Rob. But that's what ended up happening. So then you fast forward, 4 or 5 years to me being an entrepreneur. And then the self-awareness got created because I already taught myself that lesson. And then I'm like, whoa, I can work out whenever I want. I can talk with whoever I want. I can do whatever I want. And that's when the light bulb went off, similar to you saying, hey, at the end of my journey, I want to look and be like, did I build my empire? I was like, I can build my empire. Almost like I'm Ron Burgundy. All of a sudden, it went from a question mark to an exclamation point where I'm like, I can build my empire. Oh my God. Boom. World went from black and white to color.